Welcome back, everyone. The iPhone 13 just came out, so let's go and compare it against the iPhone XS and see which one you should go and pick up. Now, if you have all the money in the world, obviously getting the iPhone 13 is a better way to go. It's an overall better phone than the iPhone XS for sure, but the iPhone XS is still a pretty capable phone too. Now, if you want to pick up either one of these phones, links will be down in the description. You can get them from there and you can help support the channel at the same time. Now, side by side, you can definitely see a little bit of difference. The iPhone 13, which is on the left, it's a little bit bigger. It has a 6.1-inch OLED panel, where the iPhone XS had a 5.8-inch OLED panel, but also the notches are different sizes, as you can see if I put them on top of each other. You can see that the iPhone XS notch is about, they say 20%, but it looks more than that, to be honest. The notch is taller on the iPhone 13 though, which is a pretty important thing to note. Now on the side, in terms of thickness and thickness, they kind of give me the same impression. I don't really think one is way thinner or way thicker than the other one. I'd probably say that the iPhone XS feels thicker, but the iPhone 13 maybe a little heavier. I think they kind of have the same, heft to them too. On the back, glass backs on both, but I do have the skin on the iPhone XS. Dual camera setups on both as well, but the iPhone XS has a telephoto lens. The iPhone 13 has that ultra wide sensor, lightning port at the bottom, power button on the side, and that really pretty much covers it up on the outside. So, that pretty much is the main thing. I mean, you have IP certification on both, you have wireless charging on both, you do have MagSafe capability on the iPhone 13. No 120 hertz on either one of these. The iPhone 13 Pro has that. But I will tell you, there is something said about the longevity of both of these phones. Because they're iPhones and iOS, they're going to be lasting for quite a bit of time. But do keep in mind, the iPhone XS came out in 2018, so it's definitely not going to last as long as something like an iPhone 13 anymore. Now, it's still going to get, the number of updates probably the same, but because this one is older, it's not going to last as long right now as the iPhone 13, and that is probably the main reason to pick up an iPhone 13 over an iPhone XS. This phone is going to potentially outlast this phone, and that is a massive thing. It's probably not even going to be by a little bit, it's probably going to be for a couple of years. So you may be better off picking up something like an iPhone 13 and then an iPhone XS just based off of the software updates alone. So that's a big thing to keep in mind. But regardless, the XS is still here to stay. It's not going anywhere anytime soon either. So that pretty much covers it up there. Now let's go into speed comparison between both of these phones. The iPhone XS had that Apple A12 Bionic chip inside of it with 4 gigabytes of RAM. The iPhone 13 has that Apple A15 Bionic chip inside of it with 4 gigabytes of RAM as well. So let's go and see which one is the faster iPhone between both of these. Okay, now that we're back, let's go and clear all the apps in the background. Should only take 1 second. There we go. Let's go and start loading them up. iPhone XS is on the right. iPhone 13 is on the left. Let's do phone calls, 3, 2, 1. And about the same on both. Hopping out of this one, music, 3, 2, 1. And I think they're about the same too, not a big difference. Let's do their app stores, 3, 2, 1. And we do have a network connection problem here, which is very annoying. So we'll go ahead and fix that. Let's do camera, 3, 2, 1. And about the same thing too, not a ginormous deal. Hopping out of this one, let's get into photos, 3, 2, 1. And I do think the iPhone 13 was the faster one there. And I hate these pop-ups on iOS. Clock, 3, 2, 1. And a little bit of a glitch that you guys saw maybe on the iPhone XS. That was a little noticeable one, but nothing super crazy. Now let's start loading up some of these third-party applications that we always have on both devices. So let's get into it. Let's do Snake vs. Blocks, 3, 2, 1. And you can see the iPhone 13 substantially faster than the iPhone XS for sure. Getting into some gameplay, and I'm pretty sure the iPhone 13 is going to be the faster one. But that was definitely a faster, application opening on the iPhone XS, on the iPhone 13. Thank you, 3, 2, 1. And the iPhone 13 again is the faster one, followed by the iPhone XS a little bit behind. Again, nothing super crazy, but it is worth mentioning. Hopping out of this one, let's get into Dropbox, 3, 2, 1. And again, the iPhone 13 just so much faster. Quizlet, 3, 2, 1. And again, iPhone 13 is just so much faster than the iPhone XS. Let's go into Bofa, 3, 2, 1. And we do have a network connection problem here. I mean, I still think it would have been probably faster on the iPhone 13. Netflix, 3, 2, 1. And again, another network issue. I don't know what's going on with the network. I just connected to it. Snapchat, 3, 2, 1. 13 again is faster. Temple Run 2. 3, 2, 1. And I think the iPhone 13 again is going to be the faster one here. The iPhone XS is a little bit behind, nothing super crazy, but it is worth mentioning that the iPhone XS is a little bit of a slower phone than the iPhone 13. And I've kind of seen this before. It looks like the iPhone 13 series, if you're coming from an iPhone XS, this is the device to go to. There's a bigger difference here than really any other version of software or any other iPhone that I tested. It does look like the iPhone 13 from an iPhone XS is a pretty good upgrade for sure. So that pretty much covers it up in the speed comparison standpoint. Now let's go and quickly hit on the cameras. Now, like I mentioned before, the iPhone XS has that dual camera setup, a 12 megapixel wide, then a 12 megapixel ultra wide sensor, where the iPhone 13 has that 12 megapixel wide and 12 megapixel ultra wide sensor. But the iPhone XS has a telephoto lens. I think I may have misspoken. This is a telephoto lens on the XS and not an ultra wide sensor. Now, when you look at the UIs and everything on both, you can kind of see they have the same exact thing going on for the most part. There's really not that big of a difference as much as you may think. You have video mode, portrait mode, all this stuff. You do have this new cinematic mode on the iPhone 10, on the iPhone 13, which does look pretty cool. It essentially blurs out a lot of the photos and video. It essentially blurs out a lot of the videos and makes it kind of like portrait mode for video, which I think is really cool. Now, the iPhone XS camera is still pretty good for the most part. I think the thing that it lacks the most, at least in the area, is probably that ultra-wide sensor. I wish this phone had an ultra-wide sensor. That would have been so cool, and I would have loved that so much. Unfortunately, we don't really have it, so there's really nothing we can do in that standpoint. I think for all other intents and purposes, it's still a really good sensor for sure. You still have 4K at 60 on the back, 1080p at 60 on the front, but you do have a better camera on the iPhone 13 without a doubt. With the iPhone 13, you're getting that ultra-wide sensor, which is something I appreciate a lot more. I don't think it's a big deal or anything, but for some people, you may actually prefer that. I also noticed that this camera is much smoother looking and better than the iPhone XS series, which makes me think that this is the breaking point. If you have an iPhone XS if you have an iPhone 11 or newer, keep it. But if you have an iPhone XS, this may be a really good upgrade going from this phone to even an iPhone 13, in my opinion. And that pretty much takes us to where we are now. I really do think that if you have an iPhone XS or XS Max or even an iPhone XR, you could still keep it. There's really nothing like a crazy big reason to go from an iPhone XS to a 10 to a 13. You'd be a bigger upgrade to going from an iPhone XS to a 13 Pro. But even in this standpoint, it's actually pretty interesting how good of a comparison this is and how good this showcases the improvements we've seen on iPhones. This was the flagship in 2018, and now to the iPhone 13, I mean, this is a faster phone, right? For, I guess, a cheaper price tag than this one. I think that's the best way to put it. It's a faster phone. It looks better. It feels better. It has better camera setups. It's faster, better battery life, like the whole 9 yards. And it's for a cheaper price than when this one came out brand new. Now, the iPhone XS you can probably pick up for like $400 or $500. So keep that in mind. But the iPhone 13 still has a lot of capability, and I'm a huge fan of this phone. I don't think it's perfect, but I do think it's good enough for a lot of people out there. And if you're in the market, getting an iPhone 13 may be the better way for you to go, especially if you're coming from an iPhone XS. If you're coming from an iPhone XS, then I think the iPhone 13 is probably one of the best choices you can make, in my opinion. So that's pretty much it. If you guys have any other questions or anything like that, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.